It's the Christmas season, and I thought, I wonder how many people have really metaphysically looked at the story of the Jewish prophet Jesus and his birth, and how that really is a story about realizing our own light. Because I know when we come into a New Thought church, a lot of people go, oh, I'm never going to talk about the Bible. I'm never going to mention Jesus. You know, it's all off limits. And that's not true. Jesus, like any other prophet, any prophet, you know, part of what we read says, New Thought founded on ancient wisdom. You can't throw out any part of that. And so to look at that story and what it represents metaphysically, what does each item mean in that story? So Jesus, first of all, in case you're not aware, his last name was not Christ. I don't know what his last name was. It was not Christ. It's Jesus who has Christ consciousness. That's what he represents. Christ's consciousness, that which is within, if you listen to that song, gosh, what a great lead-in, thank you. If you listen to that song, within each of us, every single one of us is that light, that love, that consciousness that story is about. Now, for whatever reason, when he was birthed into here, he didn't come in with any baggage. He didn't come in with any stories he needed to clean up. He didn't come in, he didn't buy into tell me that I'm this or I'm that. He held that consciousness. And for the rest of us is to learn to do that for ourselves. He was the great example, not the great exception. Every single one of us can have that much Christ consciousness because it already exists within us. However, if you're like me, you might fall a little short sometimes. At least I do. Maybe you guys got it going on. Thank you. I sometimes struggle with my consciousness and keeping it at a Christ level. And that's part of the practice. That is part of the spiritual growth. It's not to say to ourselves, oh, I'm just never going to get this right. The awakening is to realize, oh, I wasn't kind. Or, oh, I could have thought about that person differently. That's the growth. That's why we're here. That's what Jesus was here to teach, was for us to rise up, improve ourselves. We all have that light. You can do this too, only more. I know I'm misquoting the Bible. I'm sorry. Something along that line. You get what I'm trying to say. And so to know that for yourself. Because what happens is, how many of you put your consciousness or a part of you out in the barn? Oh, I'm not going to look at that. You know, I'm not good enough to do that. Or I'm too old to do that, or I'm too young to do that, or I'm not smart enough to do that, or good grief, I can't do that because I'm not this, that, or whatever. In Christ's consciousness, you're already good enough. You're already the perfect age, the perfect height, the perfect sex. You're loving the right people regardless of what anybody else thinks. That's Christ's consciousness. Hold the truth. That's why we're here. Hold the truth. If we're not going to hold it, who is? So the manger, where was he put? He was put in a manger. What does the body represent? Or the manger represent? I gave it away. Our body.
Take two, start.
Yes, take two, start over. Click. Our body. The manger is our body. And to remember, and I don't know about any of you, I forget this all the time. I get mad at my body all the time. I get mad at my body, I look in the mirror, or I go to a Genesis Gifts of Love and have my picture taken. Oh, you know, you look like this, and oh, you look like this, and what was that all about? And it's a container for God. Really. If it's a container for God, it's perfect right here and right now. Could I exercise and maybe do something different? Sure I can. And until I do that, love it the way it is. This is where God lives, in form. Not all of it here, because each one of you got in form. So every single one of you are that manger. because you're holding Christ consciousness within you. And the rest of us are here to see that and light that up in each and every one of us. That's why it's so important now to start the service when we go around is to tell people why we're grateful that they're here and they're part of this community. It's important for people to know that they're seen and heard. That showed up yesterday at our event in spades. In spades. There was a young man that came in. I think he said he'd been living on the street for 3 months. And all we could think of was, we don't have any sweatshirts to give him. You know, he was totally disheveled. And somebody from this community gave him their coat and a sweatshirt she had in the back of her car. That's the love that we represent. That's looking at somebody and not seeing their condition, but seeing the love that they are. That's knowing that this manger is perfect because God lives in it. And that's knowing that Jesus was in the perfect place because he was set down in a manger, not in a big house. He didn't have to be a big, high religious person to have that consciousness. He was the proof to each and every one of us that each of us can hold that consciousness. He was born with it. And he said, so are you. And yet we forget. Mary and Joseph, Mary's pure love, and Joseph is strength and wisdom. That's what they represent. And when you swirl that together, you get that Christ consciousness. And yet, there are so many times in our life that we forget we're love and we're wise. It's part of the gifts that we were given by the divine. Our soul always has been, always will be, and is right here and right now, existing. It is part of God. It is a microcosm of a macrocosm. And if that's true, then everything God is already is in here. Already. And yet, boy, do we go out looking for it. In all the wrong places. I think there's a country song. But we do we not? You know, if, you know, the perfect person is going to complete me and then I'll be happy. The perfect job, if I only had the perfect job, then I could be happy. If I'd had the perfect parents, I know I would have been born happy. And yet the truth is, happiness is an inside-out job. The biggest gift I gave to my mother, and unfortunately it was almost too late, was when she said to me, I am so sorry that, you know, we moved from Renton to North Bend when you were 2. You probably would have had a better life in Renton. And I went through my life thinking, my goodness, if I'd grown up in Renton instead of North Bend, what could have happened to me? And I said, are you kidding me? It was probably the best thing you could have done, and it wouldn't have made any difference. My path was my path. And so to really understand that it doesn't matter who's in your life. I mean, I adore my husband. Everybody knows that. Don't want to trade him in. I adore him. And yet he cannot complete me. He can't. That's my job. And I will tell you how I met him was when I finally realized a male cannot complete me. And if I was a gay person, then the same-sex person as me cannot complete me. Because that is a road destined for disaster. Trust me, I've been there. Am I alone? Yeah, see, I didn't think so. We've all been there. And so to love yourself from the inside out. And so that's what Mary and Joseph represent in this story, is that wisdom, that love, that strength to be who you are, regardless of what people say or comments that they make or whatever's going on. You know, it's this community, I believe we're here to provide that space for all of us to grow and to be and to express, no matter what that looks like. To know that that can happen here. Because if it can't happen here, where's it going to happen? So that's Mary and Joseph. I'm going to have to look at this one because, the wise men. Gold. Gold is your physical body. Frankincense is your emotional body. And myrrh is your soul. Those are the gifts that they gave to baby Jesus. They're representative of who we are in form. The Star of Bethlehem is a reminder when you look up in the sky and you see a star to remember, not only like Bernie said, that there's aliens out there that are waiting for us to be nice to each other.
That's right.
Then they'll come down. They're hovering and they're like, yeah, this 1,000 years, we'll come back, another 1,000. But to remember who we are in every single moment. Are you spending even 50% of your life complaining? Seriously. That's energy that needs to be shifted. Because what we believe and what we teach here is who you are, how you express life. And I got to explain this to a lot of people yesterday who'd never been to the center before. What do you guys teach? How you show up energetically is what you're going to attract into your life and who's going to surround you. And so if you're sitting somewhere and complaining all of the time, the universe always says what? Yes. Oh, they must love to complain. Give them more. Tell me it doesn't work. I have been on both sides of this. I used to be that complainer. Trust me, I had a lot to complain about, and it kept showing up. And it was Reverend Susie Shadle that finally said, you may want to drop some of that somewhere. And I was like, wow, really start to live this philosophy. Be the change I want to see in the world, or change who I am so I can experience life differently. What a gift. What a gift. And it takes practice. It takes practice. Complaining is a bad habit. That's all it is. It is a bad habit. And it can be shifted. And so to remember, especially through this season of light, the season of love, the season of Christ consciousness, is that you're always at choice. Each and every one of you is always at choice. Where are you putting your focus? Who are you putting your focus on? My practice, and I've said this before, and somebody said, you always talk about being in your car. It's my biggest place to grow, is in my car. It really is. And I just have to own that. I can pretty much tap down on the complaining 90% of the time. I can be nice to people, put me behind the wheel of a car, and my consciousness goes way in the back seat. And so what I realize is that's a place for me to work and grow. It really is. And we all have those areas. You can all find that area in your life like you're like, every time I go there, this is what happens. Every time I go there, this is what happens. How can I be different? How can I show up different? And I will tell you, I set the intention most of the time. Most of the time. I'm not going to lie because, I climb into the car and I put it in reverse and I'm off. And then I remember, oh, you forgot to I'm going to be nice today in my car. And trust me, I am much nicer than I used to be, just so you know. But we all have that area, especially this season where possibly we are spending time with loved ones who we truly do love. We absolutely love them. And yet, they can be our biggest, oh, smile and don't respond. You know, they're our wisdom keepers. They know who we are. And so just to know that you're carrying that Christ consciousness with you always. Always. And I don't think I can say it enough, because I forget. I know the practitioners forget. I know the ministers that are sitting here forget. I know that the ministerial students sitting here forget. You've taken classes here, and I bet you forget. We all do. And so it is nice to be reminded when we come here to really spend time looking at each other and saying, yep, you too are God in form. You're having a bad day, I'll sit with you. You need some shoring up in your life, I'll be there for you. That's what community is. That's the vision of Genesis. A community founded and built on unconditional love. That is not a small vision. It's not. It's huge. And so you have to ask yourself, how does that feel and look in your soul? Your Christ consciousness. It's asking you to awaken in your human form to that truth. I can't do that for you. I can rattle your cages. I cannot wake you up. That's individual. And yet the fact that you're here means that you've already heard the call. Each and every one of you. And so I'm going to end with a story. It's a Christmas story. And it was written by Reverend Ruth Wilkerson, we think. It was posted on the ministerial listserv, and they're giving her credit until somebody else steps up. And it came to pass, as it must at some time for all people, that there is sent out a decree from the heart that all the world of effects be examined. All must go, each into his or her own city, where none other may enter. The realm of the human mind, which is Bethlehem, place of birth, the beginning. Crowded with random thoughts, confusions, and questions, where there has been no peace and no room to give birth to the Christ consciousness. And so with Joseph, your inner strength and wisdom, and Mary, your soul of love, carrying the infant, knowing of your Christ potential, you enter the den of Bethlehem and seek shelter in the stable, your center of light. In this holy, complete light, you bring forth the first, born knowing of your Christ potential, and your heart becomes the manger to nurture the power of truth born for you this night. And there in the same country of your mind, shepherds your intuition and feelings, which keep watch over your thoughts in the darkness of unknowing. And lo, the angel of the Lord, your inner guidance, speaks unto you, and the glory and the truth of your being shines as a great light all around. And your guidance speaks to your intuition, saying, be not afraid. Be not afraid of your intuition, for it speaks of great joy that shall be to all people. For into your consciousness, awareness this day is born a Savior, your Christ consciousness, the awakened awareness of God within you. And it is to be a sign unto you that forever you shall find this consciousness cradled within the manger of your heart. Your intuition and your whole being shall sing glory to the power of truth in your highest knowing. And in the earth of your daily affairs, you shall know peace, compassion, and God will toward all. And when this inner guidance seems to leave you, and you enter again the business of Bethlehem, make haste to seek the soul of love and the inner strength and wisdom, and ask them again to guide you to the infant, knowing of your Christ consciousness. And when Herod, that part of your ego which is opposed to the new and still clings to the old beliefs, hears these things, it will become troubled and seek to gather evidence that this Christ light in you does not exist. But follow the star, the light of truth within you, and come again to the stable, the center of light, and present those gifts which are of spirit: gold, richness of life; frankincense, the beauty of life; myrrh, eternity of life. And be reminded by your conviction that when you leave this center of light, even for a moment, you depart into the world of effects by a different door of awareness. For when you have experienced the birth of Christ within, there is no returning to your previous levels of consciousness. For the real you has been birthed. You have taken your first breath. Namaste.